You're listening to Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum. Ryan.
Yeah.
We've got a guest today.
You do have a guest today.
This is...
It'd be weird if we didn't.
I'm going to say this is my favorite guest of all time.
Really?
It's my uncle.
Because you've got blood in the game.
It's my uncle, but not as just my uncle.
Mm-hmm.
This is a guy who is such a success story, but talk about starting from nothing. I mean... Talk about, going to Vietnam and trying to train dogs in Long Island and making no money and going to like a Nathan's Hot Dogs to do he was just, blue collar, came from blue collar. My grandmother did really well, but my grandfather, he owned different auto shops and worked on cars. And, but my uncle turned in, a profession that really didn't exist into something very, what's the word? Successful.
Yeah.
He had his own talk show on WOR radio for 25 years. He was a regular every week for Regis and Kathy Lee. He brought animals in. He trained Letterman's dog, Pacino's dog. He trained Rodney Dangerfield. Hey, Warren, I need my dog trained. I got no respect. He humps my leg with his eyes closed. Just a great story. Author, has written many books on animals, so informative, such an advocate for animals in general, just a good heart, can't go anywhere if he sees a dog or an animal or something hurting or in jeopardy. He has to stop. He has to do something. That's in his nature. He's always done that. And he taught me a lot about that. So I think it's kind of ingrained in me now. And he just helps so many different, rescues, and I'm on the board for his Hugs and Kisses. So if you need some really cool treats that are vitamins, Hugs and Kisses Foundation. Just an incredible story. I can't wait for you guys to hear it. Just a few little things. Make sure you subscribe, of course, if you like this podcast, and, all that stuff. Patreon.com/inside of you if you want to support the podcast and give back and keep it on the air. The Inside of You online store. We have a bunch of cool stuff. New Inside of You Michael Rosenbaum figures. Ooh. They only made like 9 of these or something, but they're really cool. And they're like me with little glasses, and they made, anyway, they're cute. And I'll be at some cons coming up. Philly, June 2nd, unless this airs after. I don't think it does. Yeah, it might. First week of June is Philly. Then I'm in Niagara Falls, and then there's more to come. And that's really it. I'm on the Cameo. I got Patreon, a lot of good things coming out. My book. I have a book. I'm not going to tell you what the book is, but it looks like it's going to be made. Oh. We're working with a publisher, cool. And we're working on the deal. And then me and John Heater are doing a little show. It's I can't really talk about that, but it's going to be fun, and we're working on the deal. So hopefully everything goes through. And but love the podcast. I'm going to continue to do it. If you love the podcast, Ryan, what are the handles?
Oh, at Inside of You Pod on Twitter, at Inside of You Podcast on Instagram, Facebook.
That is correct. And there's not really anything else I can say. Oh, the band, Sunspin, the album's out. Sunspin.com. Please support the band if you can. Trying to get the music out there. The new album is out everywhere, streaming, or get merch at sunspin.com. Okay, without further ado, let's get inside of my dear uncle / amazing talent and humanitarian. You're going to really like this one. I hope you do. It's great. Let's get inside of Warren Eckstein. It's my point of view. You're listening to Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum. Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum was not recorded in front of a live studio audience. This is a very special episode. I normally don't have my family on the podcast, but I happen to have someone in my family who's famous, someone who's been in the business for a long, long time, and many of you may not have heard of him. And what's amazing is he's had a very prolific career. I mean, how many books have you written?
11.
11 books on animals.
11 books, yeah, 11 books in 6 countries.
I mean, you got a book called Yes, Dog, That's Right. Pet Aerobics, How to Solve Your Pet's Behavior Problems, Understanding Your Pet, How to Get Your Cat to Do What You Want, The Illustrated Cat's Life, Memoirs of a Pet Therapist. So look, it's a lot of awesome stuff. We're going to get into it. I mean, you you were one of my role models. I mean, I remember being a kid and going, oh my gosh, he's on WR radio. He's got his own talk show. He's on Regis and Kathy Lee every week. He brings animals in. He trained Letterman's dog and Al Pacino and Rodney Dangerfield. But I knew all that. But as a kid, you don't really ask, but how'd you do it? How'd you start doing that? And it's such an interesting career. And probably, I mean, were a lot of people doing this when you were young?
I was it, Michael. I was it. When I came back from overseas, I couldn't find a job. How do you find a job? As a pet psychologist? It doesn't exist. No one was doing it. So I took a job at a dry cleaner. People would come in with dog hair, cat hair on their clothes, and they'd start talking to me. I said, well, if your cat's peeing here, let's do this. If your dog's humping your leg, do this. And I said to Faye, my wife at that time, I said, Faye, there's a need for my knowledge. I got to get it out there.
But how did you know that you had this knowledge?
Well, I've been working with dogs in Europe and Southeast Asia.
So you were doing that stuff like sort of before you came back to the States to get a job.
Yeah, when I even in Europe, when I was out of the service in Europe, I spent a lot of time there working at the big kennels doing really advanced type training. But when I came, I said to Faye, I said, listen, I have the knowledge, man, but how do I get it out to the public? So I took an ad in the Penny Saver in an affluent Jewish area on Long Island, the 5 towns, Cedarhurst. This is what the ad said. It's on my desk to this day. We'll teach your dog Yiddish for $15. That was my ad. Now, that might sound funny. The funny part was people started calling me.
They're like, this guy's funny. I got to see what's up with this guy.
So what I did is for $15, I would go, if you had Cujo, I would come to your house and resolve any issues you had for $15. That's how it started.
Really?
That's all how it started.
So you're working in a dry cleaners and people are going, yeah, I got this stain. It's like, your dog wouldn't pee if you just started answering questions. The next thing you know, I've got this knowledge. You put an ad in and then it starts to hit and you're thinking something's going on here.
Yeah. And then I said to my parents, I said, your grandparents, I said, I'm going to be America's first pet psychologist. And the first thing your grandmother said to me, we better get him into therapy real quick. That's the first thing she said.
Yeah, of course.
Even years later, just before she passed away, she got me, what do you do for a living? She never got it.
Yeah. Because I try to explain to my friends too. I'm like, well, he's a dog trainer. He was a dog trainer, but then it turned into, his knowledge turned into books and it turns into radio shows and talk shows and people wanting this information. And I mean, did you really think when Faye, your first wife, you
Sure.
loved Faye, and we'll talk about that, how, her passing, how much that affected you later in life. And, she was your, your partner in crime. She co-wrote on the books, right?
Yeah. Who else was going to be with me? We got married. She was 18 years old. I was just out of the service. Gonna leave the dry cleaners. You're gonna do what? You're gonna train. How are we gonna eat?
Yeah, seriously, that's what I was gonna ask.
And it was rare. Literally, we would go to the supermarket. I adopted a dog, took a dog away from somebody because it was being abused, and we'd go to the supermarket and we'd shop for the dog food first. And if we had money left over, we'd get something for ours. Seriously, I mean, this is not a joke.
No, I believe this because you. And I want you to continue, but I noticed. This isn't a stab. This isn't a jab. But you have always been someone who loves animals more than people. I mean, for the most part.
If anyone should understand it, Michael, it's you. Let me give you a prime example. You know where I grew up, Oceanside, Long Island. All of our relatives lived in the Bronx. They lived here. So every weekend, they'd all come out like gerbils to our house on Long Island. One be out there, my uncle be out there washing his car. This one be doing that. So all these people were hanging out at the house. I couldn't deal with it. You know how neurotic our family was. Mm-hmm. So what I did is behind my mother's house, there was a creek, right?
Yep.
In that creek, there were muskrats, there were types of ducks and all kinds of animals. So when all these people come over, I couldn't take it. My head was exploding. I would go into that yard and I would sit there and talk to the animals there. And that's what comforted me. And I knew right then and there, this was my passion.
That young.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
And so your parents are like, okay, he wants to be a pet and animal psychologist. I don't even know do you go to school for this? Do you besides just training animals and like learning that whole thing, you did it on your own. It wasn't something someone can teach you, right?
No, but I spent a little time at the University of Frankfurt when I was over there, drinking some beer, Steinhager, and learning about animals. So I spent a lot of time and I learned an awful lot from the European trainers. I learned not to do what they did. They were all like the Gestapo. My dog has to listen to me 100% of the time. And I said, how boring is that? I want my dog to look up and say, hey, Warren, you talking to me? I need a dog with attitude. So the bottom line is that's what I did. My training, hugs and kisses is my whole approach, is loving them, hugging them, kissing them. And you don't train them to do things they don't want to do.
Well, how did it start? What was the first? I remember you told me there's something in the story about Nathan's Hot Dogs in Long Island. You had this event or something?
Yeah, I don't know why it happened, but I got a call from Nathan's Roadside Rest on Long Island. And they had an old stage in the back that they never used. And they said, listen, we're going to fill that stage up. So they hired some guy who did a karate demonstration before me. And then they said, well, we want you to come in and do something with pets. So I did a fashion show. I grew up in this town. My friends showed up. Here I was, what I thought macho in high school, doing a fashion show with schnoodles and poodles and wearing tutus. And I never thought I got off. I got off and my mother says to me, because she was in the audience, obviously, she goes, great job, Warren, great job. I was so embarrassed, my turn. But I did it for every week. I'd go to Nathan's, and that's how I kind of started talking to people, and one thing led to another.
Did your mother ever ask you, Warren, are you gay? It's okay, but are you gay? You're doing fashion shows with dogs. You're doing... maybe you're an eccentric guy. You're a feminine. My mother asked me if I was gay when I was in college. Yeah, she said, "Are you gay? I know you're in the acting. It's okay if you." I go, "Absolutely," and I didn't tell her for 2 weeks that I wasn't.
It's interesting, Michael. I was never asked that.
You were never asked. Well,
I was never.
I've been asked that before. It's been written about, things like that, which is fine.
It would have been a great question because who could kill? I got a call last week on my radio show with a guy that asked me if his dog was gay because he's mounting other male dogs at the park, and I said, "So what if he is? What's the big deal?" But the guy was worried that his dog was gay. Now that's the mentality of a moron.
I mean, I don't even know if you can. Yeah, because it's weird. You never think about, well, that dog's humping another male dog. So is that dog gay?
When my autobiography came out, one of the first interviews I did was with Howard Stern on his show. Because Howard Stern, Baba Booey, I used to buy leashes from him on Long Island years ago, so we knew each other well. So when the book came out, Baba Booey called me and said, Warren, we want you on the Stern show. I said, all right, I'm going to be in for a little. I get on the Stern show. The first thing Howard asked me was if animals could be gay. And I responded, of course they can be. All animals can be gay. So yeah, it's a concept that people don't understand. But let me just remark this. If the dog humps your leg, Michael, don't feel flattered. Your leg is not that attractive. He's dominating you. That's what the humping's all about.
You shouldn't allow that.
No, you shouldn't allow.
You shouldn't allow that. You shouldn't allow anyone to dominate you.
You shouldn't allow anyone to hump your leg.
Yes. Now, I got to ask this just because you're here. Now, we don't have to get into it because this is about you, but my mother, your sister, let's just say eccentric, a little out there at times. Fleetwood Mac sing a song, You Can Go Your Own Way.
She has.
She has. What was it like growing up with my mother?
Oh, you have no idea. You have no idea. It was.
She'll laugh at this. She will. She's probably laughing now.
She used to beat me up.
Come on.
She would take a baseball bat, like a plastic baseball bat, and beat me over the head. I'm 3 years younger than her. I would get in trouble because I would break into her room if a girlfriend was getting dressed. Nona was always Peter Pan, and she'll always be Peter Pan. She will never be older than 15 years old. And growing up with her was interesting because, I got to be honest with you, we didn't spend a whole lot of time together. When we were real young, we lived in a project in Rockaway Beach. It was one room. We lived in the same room together. But once we moved, I was 10, so she was 14. She was into boys back then. So at that time, we didn't spend a whole lot of time. But I got to be honest with you, I love my sister 100%. But absolutely, there's no way she'd be walking the streets by herself. She needs company.
She needs company.
She needs company.
Yeah, that's true. It's
and look who I'm telling.
Yeah, look who you're telling. Inside of You is brought to you by Harry's Razors. Guys, these razors are top notch. Gosh, why weren't they around, Ryan, when I was doing Smallville with the bald head?
Would have been nice.
Well, you go to the grocery store or wherever you go to get your blades, and they're always way expensive. You're like, how are 3 blades this much money? And they're not even the highest quality blades. What if I told you can get the highest quality blades and it's cheaper and it's delivered to your door so you never run out?
Sounds like a dream.
It is a dream. Because Harry's Razors make dreams come true. It's true. In a sea of options, it's hard to find quality razors you can depend on. Harry makes it easy. They consistently give you better razors than in-store options at the best price. They have this deal. It's the quality shave without the hassle with a $3 Harry's trial set. $3, folks. The starter set is a $13 value for just $3 at harrys.com/inside. That's Harry's, HARRYS. It includes 5-blade German engineered razor, weighted handle, foaming gel, and a travel cover. Come on. Plus, you can schedule replacement blade delivery.
Plus, you can schedule replacement blade delivery whenever you need them with refills as low as $2.
Also, shaving creams for before and after you shave, body washes, hydrating lotions, and more. Blades are made in their own factory in Germany that hold up better than ever. And I'm telling you, I've shaved with them like even after 8 or 10 times. I'm like, I should change a blade. I'm like, I don't think I need to. They're that sharp. They're good quality blades. Harry has the highest customer satisfaction in the shaving industry, and they're still offering a no-risk trial. Don't like your shave? No worries. It's on them. Save the hassle. Set up your delivery and get the best quality shave with Harry's.
Save the hassle, set up your delivery, and get the best quality shave with Harry's.
Get a $13 starter set for just $3 at harrys.com/inside. That's harrys.com/inside for a $3 starter set. I mean, you've seen it all. I mean, you know the family, you grew up, and what was it like having Ruth and Charlie as parents? I mean, because I didn't get to experience Charlie a lot because he was pretty sick and he died young at 64. He was in the war. He had a lot of problems, and Ruth was. And by the way, Charlie was like blue collar, and he was definitely a man's man who, worked on cars and had his own auto shops. And Ruth was like the first woman on the Book of World Encyclopedia.
Yeah, she was the first manager. Yeah, so Charlie was an interesting guy. In fact, I just started reading a book about him because I want to understand him better now. He spent 6 years in New Guinea. He was in the army before World War II started. I have a telegram on December 7th sending him right overseas. So he spent, a lot of people don't know he was in 2 plane crashes, malaria, all this kind of stuff. And he never talked about it when he came home. An amazing father, but difficult father from the perspective, a lot different than yours, is because he survived that. When he came home, every day he was in a survival mode. He never worried about making money tomorrow. We woke up one day and the lights were off, the gas was off, the water was off. He never worried about tomorrow because he was in that survival mode. He worried about today. In terms of a father, he taught me how to use tools. He taught me how to, tremendous respect for me. He taught me how to be a man. But I think he kind of...
Was he patient with you?
No, he wasn't patient with me.
He wasn't.
And he also wanted to focus on things he liked. For example, he was into bowling. I was into baseball. We went bowling. All right. I was into baseball. We went to the car races. He went to the car races.
Right.
So it was, he was in this mode where I think he knew, he always said, I'm never going to make it. I'm never going to make it to 40. He always kind of knew that he was never going to be on. But I got to be honest with you, as a father, I don't think I could have done better.
Wow.
Yeah. He loved me. I remember coming home sometimes in a little drugged up maybe when I was younger.
A little stoned.
And he was sitting at the kitchen table having his morning coffee, and he knew, but he never would never confront it with me. He was excited when I was in a volunteer fire department. Yeah, we lost him way too young.
Yeah.
And you know what? At this age now, I'm first starting to understand him.
Really?
Yeah. First starting all this time. Tears in my eyes. Yeah. He was just an amazing guy. He there's nothing he would not do for his family except work. I mean, but in other words, if I got in trouble, which was pretty often, the big guys were chasing me, Charlie was out there. He's the kind of guy who would say to me, listen, Warren, here's the deal. If you go out there and you got to get into a fight, don't come home if you lose. And in a jokingly way, but that's that macho approach. But he took me... Even to this day, my wife at this point, Denise, will tell you, if there's something broken, I'll be able to fix it because he taught me his hands were like gold. He taught me how to use my hands.
That's amazing. Yeah. That's a gift.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Ruth, look, if I think of my grandmother, I think of strong and stubborn as fuck. And but at the same time, you wanted to be around her. I always wanted to be around her. If you pissed her off, she had a temper like nobody. She would come out there and she would, she'd throw a shoe at you.
Oh, I know shoes, by the way, they were stealth. Them suckers would turn corners.
Oh my God. It was amazing. But she was also great. She was like Hanukkah Claus. She came downstairs dressed as like a Santa Claus, but Hanukkah Claus. And she was great. But she was she more of the disciplinarian?
Yeah.
And she and my mother butt heads a little bit.
Well, I think mothers and daughters always do. Yeah, they just were, they would go at it a lot. They, because Nona was not an easy child. She was really wild.
Yeah.
We used the term boy crazy when she was younger, but she was wild. Ruth was God, I'm going to sound, she was like, again, the most incredible mother. In other words, I sucked in school. Literally. I mean, I could care less about school. I think she spent more time in my high school last year than I did. I was always in trouble, being sent here for this or for that. She loved her family, and she would literally murder for her family.
100%.
But she was the most fun person. Everything in life was a song. Everything was a tune. I think when she was younger, I don't remember this exactly, but I think during World War II, she sung with the USO at some of their clubs in New York City.
She had a great voice. I have her singing like to herself. She didn't know I was filming her.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
She was just, you're right. You had to be around her. If she pissed her off, you may not want to be around her.
Yeah.
But if she loved you, and no matter whether you were family or just a friend, I mean, she had some people move into the house when we had some places for rent that I would be scared to live with.
Oh, I know.
She would make friends with them and talk with them. She just liked to be around. She's a great lady. She just loved her family.
She was. I remember she was like, give me that joint.
There you go.
It doesn't work. Adam and I, my brother, were there, Ryan, and she goes, give me that. That shit doesn't work. And she took a hit. And it was like 40 minutes later, I go, you're high, aren't you? She goes, get out of here. I'm high. And then she ate a whole pizza.
I was just I remember smoking a joint with her at my house. I know she went to a bag of donuts. So it's but that was the type of mother she was. She would never say, don't do it.
Oh my God. Like if I did it, I would be in a boarding school. Like you do that, you're out of this house. It was so, I don't know why, but it was so, everything was no. You do that, it was never like what you're talking about.
Have you ever seen your mother after she smoked the joint? Probably not. I have.
I don't want to see that.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
I've seen Nona when she smoked the joint, and I love her, and she's my sister now. I would do anything for her.
She's my mom.
But if you ever saw her when she smoked the joint, you would absolutely want to put her away.
Yeah, I can imagine that. All right, so back to the career, because it's pretty crazy, guys. The things that you got to do and encounter and be a part of, how did it start out where you were starting to be invited or as a guest on these shows like Regis and Gary
Collins, Hour Magazine, the first talk show in the country.
Yeah, Letterman. How did this all start?
It was kind of because I was doing something that no one else was doing at the time. I was starting to get little tidbits of press, plus the fact I was doing a lot of rescue work. I was a peace officer for the state of New York for the League for Animal Protection. Voluntary, I got no pay for it, but I had to carry a gun 24 hours, had a badge, and I would go out and investigate animal abuse.
Wow.
I'll tell you a quick story. I remember getting called into where a dog was being really abused. A pit bull was being really abused at this location somewhere on Long Island. I'm not going to give you the location. So I go there about 10, 11 o'clock at night. I knock on the door, and these three grubby looking guys answer the door right out of a biker movie. And they say, yeah, what do you want? And I said, well, I got a complaint about your dog being abused. And they said, who are you? And I said, I'm with the Animal League for Protection. And he said, you're a dog cop? You're a dog cop. So then, and it was a motorcycle gang. I'll mention their name. It was the Pagans, a big club on the East Coast, very, very aggressive club. And we started talking. They knew I was in the military. And after that confrontation, we started smoking a joint together. I trained the dog. We became good friends. But
it all worked out.
It all worked out. But so I started getting a little notoriety. I started training some mobsters' dogs. Carlo Gambino and a lot of them.
Wait, Gambino's dogs.
Yeah.
I mean, why would you take that job?
Let me tell you, Michael, I knew who I was training. I knew who Carlo Gambino was. By the time I trained his dog, that dog was cooking pasta and speaking Italian, no doubt in my mind. But here's what happened, is once you train or once you work with a mobster, either as their lawyer, as their accountant, their doctor, they all only use the same doctors. So I became like the one to the mob. It's kind of interesting. Henry Hill. You know who Henry Hill is? He was Ray Liotta played Henry Hill in Goodfellas.
Yeah.
I was at his house when he was counting $100 bills with these cash machines I was working with.
You met
him.
Hill.
Oh, yeah. I worked with his dog. And one of my closest friends, Niko, who you remember,
Yeah.
built part of his house. Yeah. And so I got to work with all these mobsters. And again,
Were they nice to you?
Yeah. It was, you know what?
Did you ever see anything that was like, oh, shit? Yeah. Any moments where you just go, I bet there's a dead body here.
I didn't think of a dead body because I pull up to the Brownstone house in Brownsville, Brooklyn, a real sleazy neighborhood. So I'm going to train this dog, and I pull up to the house, and I go to the front, and there's two big guys standing right out of a movie. I mean, Hawaiian shirts, the whole bit, Michael, right out of a movie. So I walk in, they say, who are you? I said, well, name's Warren Eckstein. I'm here to train the dog. And they said, what dog? I said, whoever owns the dog. So they had a Neapolitan Mastiff, an Italian dog. So they let me go downstairs into this basement apartment to meet the guy who owned the dog. And I'm looking around, and I say, what looks different here? There's like 20 telephones and desks over there. There's another 20 telephones and desks over there. And I'm saying to myself, doesn't look like they're raising money for muscular dystrophy over here. It was a bookie joint. They were just taking all these calls in. They were always nice to me. They always paid cash, no contracts. But quite honestly.
And paid you well.
Oh, and they did pay well, absolutely. This is a quick story about one of the real big monsters. I had just married Faye, maybe a year, and we were poor. So we would sit and eat dinner on the floor. We had no dining room table. We lived in a studio apartment in Long Beach, not too far from where you lived.
Yeah.
So the bottom line was I would get to know this guy, Walter, who was the bodyguard for this major mobster. And he would talk to me. And after 6 or 8 weeks of working with the dog, we get to know each other. And they said, there's one thing, what would you want? And, I said, we'd love to have a dinette set for me and my wife so we don't have to eat on the floor. So I finished training his dog. They were real happy with it. The day I left, they gave me an envelope and it said, do it. I didn't open the envelope in front of him. I got into my car, my 1970 Duster, got into my car, opened the envelope, and there was a check there, not a check, there was cash there for $500 and a note that says, go buy that dinette set.
And you did.
And I did. So yeah, they were really nice to work with. Listen, I don't admire what they did on the other side.
Of course.
But in terms of going to their homes and working with their dogs, I never had any problems with any. A few of them are dead, and a few of them got killed.
Yeah.
It happens.
And so you're getting some notoriety. And what's the first show that goes, hey, they want you in the morning show? What was the first kind of big one that they saw? They would bring this guy in.
You know, I think it was a News 12 Long Island. It was like the local news cable station. So I did that show.
Were you excited? Were you nervous the first time? Probably.
Yeah, I'm nervous to this day. I'm nervous now.
What? Get out of here.
When I go on the radio, I have to write my name down on a piece of paper so I don't forget it. That's how anxious I get.
And you've been doing this 42 years.
42 years. Every single, well, maybe 5 weeks up, but 42 weeks on the air.
You know, I feel the same way. Maybe it's in the blood. I always feel nervous about everything. Why aren't you relaxed more? I'm a little more relaxed now because it's the right meds. But,
you know, many years ago, I was working with a director, Harold Prince. Do you know who that is?
Yeah.
Hal Prince was a good friend of mine. In fact, I just came across a letter from he sent to me from Europe the other day. And he taught me a lot of things. And he just, one of those things he taught me was,
it's like if you're not nervous, you're doing something wrong.
He did mostly Broadway.
Right. Yeah.
So when he was and I was at the same time when I was doing his, I was doing dogs for some dance groups as well. And he said to me, listen, when you stop being afraid, you suck. When you don't have those butterflies in your stomach, the excitement or the passion, it's gone. So I have that. I mean, no matter if you think I'm lying, then I'm nervous right now.
No, I don't think you're lying.
I am. I might have. In fact, I think I took a Xanax before I got here.
Get out. This podcast is brought to you by Dove Men Plus Care. Guys, do you get distracted during the day thinking about your underarms sweating or itching or emitting an odor? Oh. Do those thoughts keep you from showing care when it counts? New and improved Dove Men Plus Care Antiperspirant with 72-hour sweat and odor protection and 1/4 moisturizing cream helps you forget about your underarms so you can be present for the moments that matter. Don't let underarm insecurities keep you at arm's distance from the ones you care about. Buy new and improved Dove Men Plus Care Antiperspirant wherever personal care products are sold. This message is sponsored by Discover. Did you know you could reduce the number of unwanted calls and emails with online privacy protection? The latest innovation from Discover. Discover will help regularly remove your personal info, like your name and address, from 10 popular people search websites that could sell your data. And they'll do it for free. activate in the Discover app. See terms and learn more at discover.com/online privacy protection. You feel so laid back. I never look at you and go, oh, he's nervous.
Yeah, no,
wow, I like hearing that. And that's what a lot of people listening would like to hear, like somebody who's been on the radio for so long, has done so much TV, has been around. I mean, you trained Lily Tomlin's dogs and brought them to the Emmys. The list, we'll talk about. I want to hear some of these stories, but like, how do you not be, you've done so much. It's just kind of like, it's nice to know that, like, hey, you're human. Do you get anxiety still? Do you get, do you go through depression? Do you deal with that stuff? How do you deal with it?
Yeah, I have my own anxieties and I have my own depressions at times, never with the animals, always with the people. And everyone deals with it differently. I'll smoke a joint. I'm not into any heavy drugs whatsoever. So if I come home after, when I would come home back then after working with maybe 12, 13, 15, 18 hours a day, I was never home. Right. I ate dinner with Johnny Carson every night. Seriously, because that's how I came home. And so it was interesting, but then I just kept going, Michael. Like, you just got to keep going. And then I started working with some of the sporting events and my name got out there. And then they called me to do before Regis and Kathy Lee had a TV show, Regis was doing a show on Lifetime Television, if you remember Lifetime Television.
Oh, yeah.
And they would call me in and I'd bring in snakes or goats or whatever. And so, in fact, when Regis and Kathy Lee started their show, Kathy Lee wasn't the host. I go before Kathy Lee. It was a lady by the name of Ann Abernathy. And then when Ann Abernathy left, it was Steve Garvey's wife, Cindy Garvey, was the host. So Cindy Garvey and Regis, and it was a local Good Morning
So you
New
knew
York.
them back in the day.
Yeah, it was a New York show, not syndicated. Then Buena Vista picked it up. In fact, I was on the demo reel. On the demo reel, I brought on like 22 golden retriever puppies. How could they blow it? So yeah, I did Regis and Kathy Lee for all those years. It was a fun show to do.
You ever get bitten on a live show, like some dog? I could tell you have.
Not by a dog. I was doing
snake.
I was doing a show in San Francisco. It was a show called Mac and Muttley. I just finished teaching a dog how to scuba dive for the TV show. So anyway, I'm doing this whole thing. This is my life, Michael.
Do you do that?
I'm doing this show, Mac and Muttley. They'd fly me out to San Francisco, and I do a bunch of shows at a time. So I finished doing that. Then I finished doing this. I just did a segment on rodents. Now I'm doing a segment on snakes. And the bottom line was that I didn't get a chance to wash my hands. And in my own stupidity, I went to pick up this rattlesnake and I have the smell of rodents on my hands. Oh. So he launched into me and I spent 2 days in the hospital in San Francisco and had to take, you didn't know this, do you?
Did you almost die?
I didn't almost die, but I was pretty sick. And then I had
What does it feel like to be bitten by a rattlesnake? What's that feeling you get? The breathing, the nerves, the type of toxin that they have. You feel like you're like, I could die?
You want to die.
It's that bad.
Yeah, it is that bad. You want to die. And it was a young rattlesnake. And the younger the rattlesnake, the more venom they give you. The older snakes save their venom, just use enough to do with it. But the younger ones, they put it all out there. So, and then there was a time I did a TV show in New York for 6 years called Saturday Morning Live. And it was hosted by Gene Rayburn. Remember Gene?
Old school.
He was my mentor. This guy taught me everything. And I was doing a segment on lizards. And before I went on, I was working with an animal, a big, large, big, large, furry animal. I'm trying to think of what it was now. Anyway, it took my finger and it bit me before I went on the air. And 80-something stitches, my finger was hanging. But I didn't want to miss the segment.
The adrenaline kept you through it.
We took a break. I went back, I put a bunch of bandages on, put my hand in my pocket and finished the segment. But then because I did that show, Gene would have all these friends come on, Charles Nelson Riley, Betty White, all his friends would come on. It was amazing to get to meet all of these people that I idoled. And then I got called to do Our Magazine. And I would come out to Westinghouse out here, and I got to hang out with Liberace. I helped train Liberace's dog.
I saw pictures of that. You got to send me these pictures to post.
Yeah, there was some just great shots, and it was exciting. I look back at it now, and people say to me, "What about the dangers? I was training guard dogs at the time as well.
Yeah.
Once I had a gun at my head, and once I had a knife at my throat at Hunts Point Market in the Bronx. I was dropping off a guard dog at 3 o'clock in the morning. Hunts Point Market is where all the guys go to buy the fruit. The fruit vendors,
Right.
the mavens. And so I was dropping a dog off there to do some protection work. And
You almost got killed there.
the guy pulled a knife on me. Luckily, the dog reacted. Good training, Warren. The dog reacted, grabbed his hand, took him down, and we were able to get away.
When you did Letterman was called the David Letterman Show.
Yeah.
At the time. And you sort of became sort of friendly with him.
David Letterman Show. I was working with his dogs. So he got my name. Oh, here's how David Letterman got my name, I believe. I forget how.
I still have the T-shirt that you saved.
The David Letterman
I have
Show.
The David Letterman Show.
So it was a morning show, and he had a little jazz band in the back, and we got to know each other really well. Faye and I would hang out. We go out to the Hamptons with him and his girlfriend at the time, Meryl Marco. We became friendly. In fact, a couple of times he was hosting the Tonight Show. They flew me in to be a guest with his on the Tonight Show. Trained his dogs, Bob and Stan.
Didn't you drive around in his Duster? Or
He wanted to buy my Duster.
He wanted to buzz it by.
He would try to get on my case to buy my Duster over and over again, but I wasn't selling a Duster. He was a really neat guy. Dave was kind of interesting, quiet, a nice guy. And then the funny part is when I started working with him later on, he was doing the late night show. And I was working with his dog. By the way, I was training all the dogs for Saturday Night Live at that point. If you saw a dog or a cat or a horse on Saturday Night Live, I was there. Denise, my wife, we're just talking about it. I did a segment with Glenn Close, where she was playing a dog show judge where the show goes wrong. So I had all these dogs around her. She's standing on the podium as the judge, and all the dogs attacked her. It was a great, great scene.
Oh, man.
So I got to work with all of them. I'm going back to the Bellucci days, all these people. So every week and it was a pain in the ass show to do because I have to go there and be there Friday and be there Saturday morning, then have the dress rehearsal, see what they're going to put on, what they're not going to put on.
Wasn't there some SNL actor who thought he was being upstaged by the animals and got upset?
I'm not going to mention his name. John, what the hell's his last name?
Belushi?
No, not John Belushi. Oh, God.
Candy?
No.
He wasn't on there. He was on.
Yeah, that's the ticket.
Oh!
Yeah, that's the ticket.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, he's actually,
He's a nice guy.
Yeah, I'm friendly with him, but he goes, I don't want these to upstage me. The animals are upstaged.
He was doing a segment, I think it was with Dana Carvey, I don't remember, and there was a segment where there was a bloodhound involved. Bloodhound's a beautiful dog, man. They were being upstaged by the bloodhound. Neither one of them are attractive looking guys. The dog upstaged them, and they were pissed off. They cut the dog. I still got paid, but they cut the dog. And then for the Letterman show, we did the Suit of Suet. Well, we dressed David Letterman in a suit of suet, and I put deer and raccoons and possums in a cage with them, and none of them would go near him.
Really?
Because they kept the suit in the commissary at NBC, and the food sucks at the commissary. It probably smelled so bad that the animal said, "You know what? I'm not going near it."
The character was Tommy Flanagan. Yeah, that's the ticket. Yeah, me and my wife, Morgan Fairchild, whom I've seen naked. Yeah. Wow, I mean, all the stuff you've done, it's crazy. I remember I saw you on Letterman one night, and you brought a pig on set to the Letterman show. And David looks at you and goes, wow, Warren, where does this pig come from? Where did you get this pig? And you said, oh, I just actually got it tonight. Here in Manhattan on the streets. He goes, where do you get a pig? And you know what? I think we all know where to get a pig at this hour.
It was just with the pig. He would drive me crazy. He said, a pig's smart. So I went out and I literally bought this pig for $35. And the day before I did the show with Dave, I spent the night with the pig, training it, working with it, so I get some response on the show.
Didn't work out.
No, he didn't work out too great. But anyway, the pig's name was Spotty, black and white pig. So I brought him on the show, and Dave had this whole thing with him. But then I had spent the night with the pig. I can't bring him back to the farmer. I kept him. Now, I had the pig on Long Island in Oceanside, my hometown, for like 8 months, and he kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And people would say to me, I said, some rare dog from Hungary. And that's when Faye and I ultimately we had to buy this
farm, upstate.
Yeah. Can you imagine buying 5 acres with a house and a barn on it for $29,000? Can you imagine the slum I lived in? I mean, I have to go outside to pump the water.
How many animals lived on that farm?
I had rescued 30 dogs at that point, 27 cats, 6 chickens, 6 ducks, 2 pet pigs, Corky and Spotty, 22
and a partridge
rabbits.
in a fair
It's
tray.
you know what? and yeah, but every one of these animals, God, I loved I think I get tears when I think about some. You met Shannon.
Yeah.
You know, and
Shannon, I remember it was in the, it was in Ruth, his mother, my grandmother's garage. And, they were keeping him there temporarily. And then, so she goes, don't go in there. You don't want to go in there. And I went in there and I looked at the cage and just me as a little boy. And then this dog, Shannon, is like, I'm like, oh, this dog looked like it was going to just maul me. But yeah, there was always animals. Sometimes at Ruth's house, there was always shepherds. There's always dogs. I mean, you taught me, and I think, the rest of us like that, how much love to give animals and how important it is. And now I'm on, the board of your
the Hugs and Kisses
Animal Fund. And you're always doing this. You're always battling. You're always trying to find homes. You're always trying to rescue animals still to this day.
Well, I'm so tired of people having to be dominant over their dog all the time. Having to be the boss or the alpha. I hate that word alpha. That word really pisses me off, okay? I like my dog. I like to negotiate with my dog. I want my dog to be behaved to a certain point, but no better behaved than I am. So in other words, what it took me all these years to establish, and I have, the Hugs and Kisses approach to training is being used by, I have emails from trainers I trained to trainers years ago that are now the #1 trainer in Pennsylvania or Nevada or here. I just explained to them and I taught them all, listen, if you want something to listen to you 100% of the time, you better buy something with batteries. If you have a dog, it's not going to respond. Enjoy the good, enjoy the bad. Training, educate them. I like the word educate. That's fine, but it really took me years because back then everyone was into the, you got to be the boss and jerk the dog around and electronic collars and prong collars and all that bullshit. They should go on people, not on the animals. Let the dog be a dog. What do they live? You know how hard it is losing a dog. They live for what? 12, 13, 14 years. Educate them, but let them enjoy life. Let them dig a hole in the backyard. Geez, when people say to me, I had a call last week where someone said, my dog's digging holes in the backyard. So I said, crawl around your backyard. How interesting is it for you? I had them go out and buy a kiddie pool, fill the kiddie pool with sand and dirt, go in the kiddie pool, make believe they were digging, entice the dog to come in. So now that's the only where the dog digs is because now he has his own sandbox in their backyard. Rather than people saying, well, yell at the dog and throw this and squirt him with water. Now the dog has a box to go dig in and enjoy himself. Why stop that?
I love it. And, I always think of you when I see dogs being walked, and sometimes it really irritates me when you see someone on their phone while they're walking their dog. This is like a dog has an hour, maybe 2 hours a day or whatever, half an hour. For people, when they walk, it's their time. It's not your time. So you said to me, I go, Blanche is kind of jerking me over here and wants to pee on everything and wants to go here. And you're like, it's her time.
Exactly.
Let her do what she wants.
Exactly. She doesn't tell you when and where to pee, right? So here's a perfect example. The other day, I was walking around Santa Monica, and this guy has his dog, beautiful dog, a blended breed. I use the word blended now. And the dog's lifting his leg and peeing on a telephone pole. By the way, you might not notice, but the higher your dog lifts his leg, the more dominant the dog is. This dog was really giving a high kick. So the dog's lifting his leg on the top, and the guy's going to, hurry up, come on, hurry up. And I kept thinking to myself, man, would I love to be behind this guy at a urinal? Would I love to just stand behind this guy yelling at his dog,
let's go, buddy.
Come on, man, hurry up, pee, I gotta go,
You find that thing yet?
You take your dog out for a walk, you hit the nail on the head. Get off your phone, focus on your dog. It's your time with your dog. It's the dog's walk. Let him enjoy. And all the time, people say, well, why is my dog sniffing the butt? It embarrasses me. When a dog sniffs the butt of another dog, that's the internet. That's Google. That's Yahoo for the dog. Everything your dog wants to know, the hormones, the food in the neighborhood, is in the butt. So let your dog sniff the butt. It's not the end of the world. Only for dogs, Michael.
Oh, you got Ryan laughing now. I mean, you've done it. Wow. What's the biggest misconception, or one of the biggest misconceptions about training your dogs, or things that you hear about dogs that people assume because they've heard it for so long that you're like, that's not true. That's a fallacy. That's a myth.
There's so many things.
Are there mouths, the cleaner than humans?
There's a lot of argument over whether a dog's mouth is cleaner or it's not cleaner. Quite honestly, I'd much rather be kissed by a dog and have a dog's mouth on me than most of the people I know right now. So yeah, it's people, a lot of misconceptions. I'll give you an example. People think that when a dog growls, it's aggressive behavior. Dogs smile. And sometimes what it is, appeasement behavior. Sometimes they'll raise their lip and show their teeth, not an aggressive, but it's just an appeasement approach. In fact, some dogs will actually raise the lip high where you think they're growling. And when a dog does growl, say thank you. Now, I know that sounds eccentric, and heaven forbid, Michael, I should ever be called eccentric. But imagine when a dog growls, what he's doing is saying to the person, I'm not feeling good right now. I'm a little anxious or stressed out. Leave me alone. It's like if you're in a really bad mood, tell me, maybe we'll talk about this tomorrow, rather than getting into an argument with them. So that's really what a dog is doing very often when they're growling, just letting you know something's bugging them. And a lot of people just assume the dog's aggressive and mean.
So when Blanche sees a dog outside the window, goes, "Arr," and then she goes to the other window, "Arr," and she keeps going and going. Just let her do it. Let her enjoy it. Don't stop her.
It's,
Or can you say, no, Blanche, stop. It's okay. It's okay.
Perfect. You hit the nail on the head. Because when I get the calls and says, my dog barks like crazy when he sees another dog outside the window or he sees a person go by. And hey, what do you do when you see your dog barking, standing on the couch, barking out the window? And they say, I go over to the dog and I say, shut up, stop it, knock it off, wait till daddy comes home. And I said, you know what you just did? You just joined the dogs in. You're just barking alongside the dog from the dog's point of view. So what I do when I have a dog that barks, when my dog's barking at the window, I go over to him and say, thank you. I appreciate you saved my life, but I got it from here.
I love it.
That's the way I approach it.
How do you know if a dog, because we talk about mental health in this, but how do you know if your dog is suffering from depression or anxiety? What signs are there?
Yeah, the signs are, lack of appetite, not enjoying the things he used to enjoy, being more fatigued than normal, changing personality, hiding, walking away from you. I just did a segment recently on, is it possible dogs can suffer from the blues? And they can. But also you have to remember, Michael, and this is so, so true, having trained over 40,000 animals, I'm telling you from the bottom of my heart that animals take on the way we feel. So if I'm working with a person that's a depressed person, generally I'm going to have a dog that may be a little depressed. If I'm working with a hyper crazy, we talked about some of my famous clients, Rodney Dangerfield. Guy was a maniac. Dog was a maniac. I'm just telling you the way it was.
What did you tell me? You said that you came up and he was just like out of a movie. He answers his door and he's like, hey, Warren, you got to help me. He's in a robe. My dog jumps on my leg with his eyes closed. No respect, Warren.
In a robe that I wouldn't wear if I was a hermit living in Montana. That's how. So he was talking about this little dog and the poodle name. I think it was named Niko. I don't remember now. Anyway, it's exactly that. And he said, the greatest line I told you ever heard was, Warren, talk about no respect. The dog humps my leg, but before he does, he closes his eyes. That was just, and then going to he would invite me and Faye to all his concerts, or not concerts.
He paid you in cash, I'm sure.
I paid in cash, of course. He had Dangerfield. Me and Faye would be regulars at Dangerfield's club. We would go there. But you could not go backstage at a Dangerfield concert and not be stoned by the time you walked out. I'm not saying he was smoking, but just everybody else was. Everybody else was.
Oh, yeah.
I would never say you, but everyone else was.
Oh,
great guy. Lily Tomlin.
You got stoned with her a lot, didn't you?
She was a great lady. I love Lily and Jane. Just incredible people.
Was Lily Tomlin, because there's that famous video, Ryan, what was the movie where the outtakes they saved and it shows her screaming at
David O. Russell.
And David O. Russell screaming back at her, and it's just this mess on. Have you ever seen it?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's insane. Did you ever see that side of her?
No, I never saw that side of her. It's interesting though, but at the time I was working with her, she had a Norwich Terrier. The dog's name was Tess. Do you remember the story of Sybil, the woman with 100 personalities or 80 personalities?
Do you know that story?
It was a popular book years ago. The woman had many personalities.
Yeah, we had to watch it in AP Psych class.
So there you go.
every Psych class.
Sybil.
Yeah.
So this woman had I think 13 different personalities. So I started, and I'd come out here, and Lily at that time lived in the old, I think it was the old W.C. Fields estate. It was painted hot pink inside and out. Remember the movie The Incredible Shrinking Woman?
Oh, yeah.
That's how the house was furnished. The cassette player that they made really big for the movie was a living room table. The rocking chair from Rowan and Martin, that was at the poolside. So she was an incredible lady. But working with her dog, was like working with Sybil. The dog had multiple personalities. And I'm trying to be analytical and say, why is this, Warren? Well, Lily at that point was practicing 3 or 4 different personalities every day. She might be Ernestine at 1 minute, she's focused and she's someone else. So the dog picked up on all these personalities and picked up on that. So if I were to spend 10 minutes with anyone's dog, or cat, I would probably know more about that person than they would want me to know, because the personality goes from one end of the leash right to the other.
You know, what's weird is with Blanche is, and I don't think I've ever even, I swear, I don't think I've ever yelled at her. Unless she's in the back, Blanche, come on, Blanche, let's go. But not yelling, like, go, hey, or just stop, But for some reason, I had this little tiny, there's these little band pillows I have in the basement. And one time I just like tossed it, not even at her, 5 feet from her. And she kind of cowered and then came over to me and like was like wanting love. And so if anybody ever throws something near her, and she wasn't ever abused, she was never, I've been with her. I rescued her since she was a baby. And I'm like, what is that? Does she think I'm mad at her?
Just one thing. It only takes one thing. Dogs learn through the associative memory. So in other words, if you do 9 things perfectly and the 10th time you blow it, sometimes that's the time they remember. So it's they're just so amazing. It's not just the dogs, it's the people. I had the opportunity of working in Europe, doing it, actually walking with dogs right along the Berlin Wall. We won't get into that, but that's a whole different story. But anyway, I was doing a type of training there called Schutzhund training, which is a combination of obedience, protection, tracking, agility, just amazing what these dogs can learn. And when 9/11 took place, I was in Santa Monica, and I got a call from the New York City Canine Unit. And they asked me if I would come to New York and evaluate the needs of the NYPD Canine Unit, because I had the Petco Foundation was going to donate money, and before they donated, they wanted my approval. So I said to Denise, I said, all right, I gotta go. It's my hometown. There were no planes. How am I gonna get to New York? So I happened my 1992 Ford Explorer, had 200,000 miles on it, drove cross country, get to New York, and then they tell me, well, the canine dogs are at the Brooklyn Navy Yard. So I got there and I was supposed to evaluate them. And the first thing the commander did said, all right, Warren, I've known you for years. I know what you do. Hop in the back of the truck. We're going to ground zero. I wasn't expecting to go to ground zero. And I went there, and it was the most horrible experience I ever had. And I've been through war zones, but the most horrible experience I've had. But on a positive note, the dogs were absolutely amazing. But interesting, they weren't finding survivors. And that's what these dogs were trained to do. So what they had to do was kind of every once in a while, they would have a person play a victim so the dog would find somebody that they could rescue that was alive. It was just a horror. I mean, to this day, I have nightmares about being there. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. But I was able, the bottom line is I saw their needs and I was able to donate $250,000 to the NYPD.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Also, we don't have to talk about it too much, but a lot of people, I talk to guests and, my friend Zach just lost his dad. And loss is part of life. And, you lost your first wife, Aunt Faye, my Aunt Faye, who I loved, but you lost her very young. I mean, how long were you married?
I knew Faye when she was 12 years old. I was 3 years older than her. I was attracted to her even when I knew her very young. I was in a little gang. I was a little greaser. I was in a little gang. She was in a little sorority. But her older sister would not let me near her. Wouldn't let me near her. So I was home on leave one day from Langley Air Force Base in Virginia, and I was with my friend Jay. You know my friend Jay.
Oh my gosh, fight tooth decay with Dr. J.
There you go. So we're driving down the street, and I look out of my car, and I see this girl, and she looks so familiar, but I couldn't figure out who she was. So I honked my horn. She looked at me. I think she flipped me off. She looked at me, and we drove off. And then it took me a day or two to figure out who she was. And then I realized it was Faye. Now she was like 17, 18. And I was still in the service. I was only home on leave. And that's how I met her. So we got married when I got out of the service. She had just turned 18, turned down a scholarship to Radcliffe, and married me. And we got married in Woodstock, New York. And in a judge's house where his wife was my best man, his daughter was, and we were married 19 years.
Her mom and dad at the wedding?
No one was at it. It was just me and her. Yeah, it was just the two.
And you
of
were
us.
married 19 years.
We were married 19 years and great years. And she was diagnosed with melanoma skin cancer.
How did she find the cancer? Was it on a belt or something?
Yeah, she was. She had diabetes.
Right.
So she went to a diabetic doctor and she had noticed on her stomach, she showed the doctor that, it was like around Thanksgiving, like November. And she said, I went to my belt and I know it's a little blood on this thing that I have. And the doctor said, it's no big deal. But you know what? There's a dermatologist across the hall. Why don't you go check it out? Just a fluke. She went over there, checked it out, and it turned out to be melanoma. And back then, they have a lot more cures now. They didn't have it then. I went to every dollar I had, legitimately, every dollar I had, trying to go for alternative therapies. But listen to this. She was diagnosed in November.
I could see you're still getting emotional like it was yesterday.
She died in May. So it was so fast. And I was totally dependent on her. And Faye and I had just finished writing the book, Pet Aerobics. So we were doing all these shows locally in New York. We were being called... People magazine did a 4-page article on Faye and myself, calling us the Jane Fondas of the dog world. I saw that article in People magazine.
Wow.
So it was a hard loss. But on that note, I have to be the luckiest man in the world to find love a second time.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Denise is just
and someone that can
best.
listen, I am the most difficult person to
No,
love.
I think I might be.
Well, you probably could be. That's true. But I'm like second
Thank
to you.
you.
I mean,
yes, maybe. No, my mother is first.
Yeah, I think
Maybe
so
I'm
that
second.
would be the question. This is would you rather live with Michael or would you rather live with his mother?
Yeah, well.
You travel a lot. I'd rather live with you.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, you can get away. Man, that's, how do you remember getting through that time? Do you remember just working as much as you can, staying as busy as possible? Or do you remember kind of like you're in a lull and it's like you're feeling it every day, you're kind of numb going through the motions?
I'm going to tell you things that I've never told anybody. There were twice in my life where I contemplated suicide. Once was at a place called Buckaroo Beach in Hampton Bay, Virginia. I was just back from overseas, didn't know what was going on. And I remember walking on a seawall. Why do I want to go on? Somehow I did. And again, after Faye died, because it was so quick, we were young. I didn't know what I was going to do, where I was going to go. I didn't even know what bank we used. And I remember walking on the beach, Long Beach, Lido Beach, Jones Beach, Long Island, and contemplated ending it there too. And it's interesting, but it was her love and my love for the animals we had that wouldn't let me do anything. I had to keep going for them. We had all these animals at that time.
Yeah.
So we had to keep going for them.
Just think, if you didn't go, how many animals wouldn't be saved? Or,
Look
at that.
The passion, the ability for us to save the thousands of animals we've saved. It's just, and yet people say, isn't it rewarding? No, man, it sucks. Because if I save 10,000, there's 50,000 more that need to be saved.
Right.
And so, yeah, it's my career, my life. I've worked with I've trained dogs for the presidents. I've trained dogs for kings. I've trained dogs for the original Mrs. Woolworth in New York. I remember she answered the door in white gloves. It was like a Betty Davis movie. So many of the people and so many people in the entertainment field, some of the New York City Ballet, their head people, I trained all their dogs. So it was an amazing career and I love what I did. But at the same time, when Faye was gone, for a while I lost it.
Rightfully so, though. Man, it's crazy. A lot of people listening probably are like, well, it's always like, yeah, I want to save animals. I want to help rescue. And then when they're done listening to the podcast, they go on with their life and they go on. It's inadvertent. They don't do it on purpose. I think people have hearts and they want to help. But where could they go if you want to rescue animals? Like I know my friend Shira has the animal rescue mission arm. And, I'm on the board of that. Hugs and Kisses. You have Hugs and Kisses. Where can they go for Hugs and Kisses?
Well, there's so many things, Mike. A lot of people just assume that, you know what? I love animals, so I'm going to send a check. That's great. And we love your money. Okay? But there are so many other things you can do. You can be cross-posting on internet on all the different, webs.
Social, right.
social media, cross-posting on social media. You can foster if you're able to.
Yeah.
You can walk dogs at the shelters to socialize them if you're able to. If
You can
you're-
just go down there and say, do you need help?
Well, you can be a volunteer at many of the different shelters. Also, what you can do is, let's say you're a really technical person. Maybe some of the rescues can need some technical help setting up their websites. So it's not just a matter of donating money. And by the way, we do love donations as well. The thing that separates mine from the rest is all these small organizations do a great job. They help as many animals as they can. But a lot of them are located in areas that are more urban, like Los Angeles and New York.
Right.
The organizations that we deal with, I just got a thank you note yesterday from a prison in Lubbock, Texas, and Montana. These are organizations that are saving animals off the Native American reservations, and they have no money. I mean, literally, they have no money. They can't put gas in their car. So these are the organizations that I know about. And these are the organizations I don't. If I send, people say, well, I'll send you a check for $10,000. If I sent this prison just a small amount of money. I sent them $700. $700. And I got a letter back from them saying, not only did you save all the dogs' lives we rescued, but you made an entire difference on the lives of the inmates, the female inmates at this prison. Now that they're working with the dogs, their whole attitude has changed, and eventually they'll be released into them. So yeah, that's what it's all about. It's listen. I love what I do. It has not been an easy career. I've had my butt kicked so many times.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I've got to meet so many famous people and get to know them and get to understand them a lot more. Tony Dow from Leave It to Beaver, a big animal lover, became a good friend of ours, died recently. These are people I idolized as a kid.
Yeah.
And then I realized, working with animals and working with people, I did studies at the University of Pennsylvania in Haverford. You brought this up before of psychological issues that people have. And I did a lot of work with autism in children and chronic schizophrenic in adults. And we found that, for example, if a child would not relate to a therapist, if we put the child in with a puppy or a kitten for a few minutes, and they establish that non-demanding relationship, then the therapist can come in using the dog or cat as a catalyst to establish a relationship. So these
That's awesome.
That's why I've been threatened by the state police of New York for things I've done. But this is what I do. This is what if I don't make it past tomorrow, Michael, I will be the happiest guy in the world saying, you know what? I did everything I possibly could, but I got a few years left.
You got a few years left. You're not going anywhere.
I'm not going
And you're
anywhere.
also, dealing with, it's in remission right now, but you have prostate cancer. You have prostate cancer.
Yeah, it's interesting. I had 18 months of hormone therapy. People on the hormone therapy takes away your testosterone. All of a sudden, I'm starting to watch Hallmark movies on TV. I couldn't figure out what was going on. But I've been off them a while. So yeah, it seems to be under control right now. I also have rheumatoid arthritis, and I go for
Injections.
not injections, but I actually go for an infusion every once in a while. But the bottom line is this: you know what? I can sit back and say, you know what? Your grandmother's favorite line. Don't feel bad because you don't have new shoes. Feel bad for the guy who has no feet. That was grandma. That was her line.
Ruth.
And I grew up understanding that. Okay, so I have rheumatoid arthritis and I had prostate cancer, and you know what? Here I am. I have friends that lost their lives at 18 and 19 years old. So I'm a lucky guy.
Go get checked, by the way. It's easy. I have a urologist now. I'm like, it's not like I like it, but I try to go once or twice a year and make sure everything's working. And, it's easy. They give you a little exam. I've got the best doctor. He's awesome.
That's like a Letterman joke. I got the best doctor. Everyone has the best
Everybody has
doctor.
the best.
Someone graduated at the bottom of the class. That was no
true.
Letterman joke.
That's true. By the way, if they do want to donate money, what's the Hugs and Kisses? They go to
Simple. HugsandKissesAnimalFund.org. And just so you know, every penny that's donated to Hugs and Kisses Animal Fund goes directly to the animals. All expenses are taken care of by me personally. Any dollar amount that has to be paid out, all done by me. So every penny. And as I said, the Hugs and Kisses Animal Fund goes to organizations that most people never know would exist because they're so small. They actually have to have a garage sale every couple of years to raise $50 to spay an animal. That's where my heart is. The big guys can take care of themselves. It's the small guys in places you've never heard of, Nebraska and parts of. These are the people I want to help.
The podunk towns,
Exactly.
a little. And you've had this vitamin, the Hugs and Kisses 4-in-1. that I have. You gave me some of this, and you didn't. By the way, you didn't ask to talk about it. You didn't. It speaks for itself. It's been around. How long is this? This has been around since I'm young.
Yeah, it's been around quite a while, and one of the reasons I originally developed it is because people would call me up on the radio show all the time on WR and say, my dog's shedding, and my cat has hot spots, and this, that, and the other thing. Actually, I would joke with people and say, well, listen, come to my house. Dog hair is a condiment. But the thing with the hugs and kisses is that's when it was originally developed for, shedding. But over the years, I've added to it. So now I'm going to brag a little bit. I honestly believe that there's another product on the market that does it all with one supplement. And it's a treat. They're shaped like little hearts, hugs and kisses. And listen, I believe in it. My name is on the label, right?
And your picture.
And my picture. So it works great for shedding, dander, dry skin. It has glucosamine, chondroitin. It has prebiotics, probiotics. It's a total vitamin mineral supplement for your dog. You bought those now. You know that.
They smell kind of good too.
No, listen, I'm telling you, as a matter of fact, if you were to go to a health food store and say, listen, I'm shedding, they would recommend lecithin and biotin, the same products in hugs and kisses.
Blanche is never allowed in the room because, I do interviews, it's continuity and stuff. But I mean, if there's one interview that Blanche could be in the interview,
yeah,
I think she has. Blanche, come here. Where are you?
I was hoping she was the one asking me the questions.
Yeah, well, Blanche, come here.
I could recommend a trainer for that dog. You might want to break it in half and give it to her. Oh, there she goes, yeah.
Yep. You like that?
Sometimes I'll just break them up and sprinkle.
She likes it. So it's all about, like, when I give her a treat, she's like, okay, because she knows me so well.
Sometimes I just sprinkle it over their food. There's one for
Good
cats, one for
girl.
dogs. Yeah. So you'll notice, I guarantee, listen, you'll notice a difference in 3 or 4 weeks. And the bottom line is this. Healthy, happy dogs require healthy, happy people.
Come on, up. You a good girl? I'll tell you one thing. I never thought an animal could change my life. It's unbelievable. I mean, never in a million years. And then you have a dog and or anything, any kind of animal, and you love it so much unconditionally, and they love you unconditionally. To come home and have that presence, to have that, just to wake up with kisses, to take care of someone, to try and give something a good life.
They want nothing from you, Michael. When was the last time a dog borrowed $10 from you? When was the last time a dog bought you a drink and when you left called you an SOB? The thing about animals is they're honest. They're honest. If they don't like you, you know about it right away. So I think that's what people appreciate about. Listen, I don't think I could walk into a house without an animal.
I know.
I couldn't do it. They make you feel so good. They're a real calming effect. They're nice and mellow, and they just make you a better person. I don't want to know people. I don't want to know people that don't have animals. I think animals make you a better person.
What does your shirt say?
This is the hugs and kisses. None of my friends walk upright. Actually, if they go to the website, thepetshow.com, you're modeling this shirt on the website.
Yes. Okay, so to listen to you, you still have radio programs that are all over the country. What is the show?
It's called The Pet Show, obviously. We have a local show here in Los Angeles on KRLA Radio. And then we have a national Canadian show, which goes all over the United States, Canada. We even heard in Guam, also called The Pet Show, and that's on Radio America. The best way to find out or check it out is go to the website. It's easy enough to remember, thepetshow.com. Just remember the Pet. And by the way, if some of the listeners have questions, there are literally hundreds of YouTube videos there, and all, like, why does my dog do this? Why does my dog hate my boyfriend? I have people call me up. I had a call last week that said to me, if my dog doesn't start liking my boyfriend, we can't get married.
I agree with that.
100%. 100%. So here's another thing. Would you date, let's say, I'm not going to ask you your politics,
right? But
would you date someone who's going to vote for a different president than you would vote for?
Probably not.
There you go.
I don't know. It really
it's a tough question to answer.
It just depends what kind of president. If we're dealing with I don't hate that guy and I don't love that guy. Maybe there's yeah, that's a good question. This has been awesome. So the Pet Show, guys, where are you on Instagram and Twitter? What's your handle?
Instagram, Warren Eckstein. Twitter, Warren Eckstein. Or YouTube, it's youtube.com, Warren Eckstein as well. Or Facebook is facebook.com/Warren Pet Talk.
Please follow him, listen to him, not because he's my uncle and he's awesome, but he's awesome on his own. He's unbelievably knowledgeable. He's written so many books. You could still get them on Amazon probably or wherever on his website. you're going to learn so much. And anybody you want to listen to someone who really understands animals, loves them. And there's nobody that loves animals more than this guy. And I can attest to that. This has been awesome. Ryan, wasn't this cool?
This is great.
It was just, we never hear about, I just learned so much. I think people are going to really, the last thing I want to end with, this is just a quick story.
God, yeah.
I just want to ask you what you remember about working with Pacino, or you remember meeting him when you trained his dog. And don't you have something that you're going to send me and maybe we could post it?
I am going to send you a canceled check receipt from Al Pacino. This is what I remember. The first time I met Al Pacino, I had to meet a driver in Manhattan, had to get into his car to drive me to the brownstone that Pacino was living in. So I go upstairs and I walk in the room. There's Al Pacino, David Mamet, do I have that right?
Mm-hmm.
And Elliot Gould. And they're playing Atari baseball. And I'm here to train the dog. They're in the other room playing baseball. I'm saying, hey, listen, Al, guy, you got to learn how to do this. I'm not coming over every day to train your dog. And so they said, well, why don't you join us and play some baseball with us? We need a fourth. That was the first time I met him. After that.
And you got stoned with him.
I didn't get stoned with him at that point. After that, he had another house in Westchester County. I went there working with his dogs, Lucky and Susie. And that's the point where he was getting ready to do Scarface. So when I was in the house, I was training the dog. He was in another room. I'd hear, you fucking cockroach, all these different things he was practicing. But then the funny part about it was he grew up in an Italian neighborhood. Italians and Jews, very similar. And all they kept saying, yo, Juan, you want a sandwich? Hungry? You want a sandwich? Nice guy. Really nice guy.
Wow.
Really nice guy. Every one of the celebrities I worked with, I'm trying to think of.
You had to meet one asshole. One guy that you're just like, man, he wasn't very nice. I'm sure there was a couple you won't say, but they kind of became an asshole. One was a news anchor that kind of became sort of an asshole. They were cool, and once they got a little popularity, they became kind of like, yeah.
I could give you a long. Oh, by the way, one quick mention: the Mickey Mouse Club. Don't forget that. I was the creature keeper on the new Mickey Mouse Club for years.
Wow.
For years, and so now I can't look at those girls anymore because I knew them when they were little. So I can't look at them anymore as full.
Who are they? Who are they now?
I'm not going to mention their names.
But they were very famous.
Very, very famous. And so I would go to Orlando and do the Mickey Mouse Club as the creature keeper. I got some videos of that. Someday when you come over to the house, I'll show them to you. It's pretty funny. And I had to do, why? Because we like you. The whole Mickey Mouse thing. It was pretty funny.
Jesus. This has been awesome. I love you.
I adore you.
Thank you for being here. This is amazing. This is amazing.
My pleasure, Mike.
Well, I haven't had a family member on. So it was cool, man. I always wanted him to come on the podcast, but I wasn't sure if he wanted to come on or, he wasn't going, hey, I'll do your podcast. He wasn't doing that. I think because he's very humble. But when I go, hey, you want to do it? He's like, sure.
He's a former radio guy.
He's a former radio guy.
And he's got
he's still a radio guy. He has the pet show. He has
right.
the pet show, and you can watch that every week. Go to Warren Eckstein. I always say Eckstein.
Yeah.
It's Eckstein, Warren Eckstein.
Eckstein and
I think
Baum.
people say Eckstein, but that's the baseball player, David Eckstein.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
I think that's right. Warren, I love you. It was an honor to have you on the podcast, and keep being awesome. Denise, I love you. That's Aunt Denise. She's amazing. She keeps him in line. Without Aunt Denise, what would we have? We'd have a very incorrigible... is it uncorrigible?
Incorrigible.
I was right. Incorrigible.
Yeah. Incorrigible.
I was right. I haven't said it in a while, so I was questioning it.
Yeah.
I always ask you for a word. Is this right? I say my brother does that to me a lot. Is that the right word? I'm like, just say it. If it's not, people will go, he's an idiot. Thank you. Everybody knows where to go, what to do. Spread the word. Thank you for being here. Let's talk about my top tier patrons. These are the folks that just go above and beyond and really support the podcast. And without them, I couldn't do it. I will write you a message after you join. If you want to join, patreon.com/inside of you. Here are the top tiers. I didn't bring water, but oh well. Nancy D, Leah S, Little
Lisa. Jean and Leah.
Yukiko. Jill
E.
Brian
H.
Niko
P.
Robert
D.
B. Jason W. Sophie
M.
Raj
C.
Joshua
D.
Jennifer
L. N.
Correct. Stacy
L.
Jamal
B.
No.
F.
Janelle
B.
Correct. Mike
E.
Eldanzsupremo.
Supremo.
Eldan, really.
Yeah, really.
We love you, Dan. I love that poem. Did I tell you that?
He wrote a poem?
He wrote a poem for me and Danson for Sunspin about our albums and our life, and it was beautiful. So what I did was
Did he rhyme Sunspin with unhinged?
no. He's a really good writer. He's smart. He's a lawyer. He's just a good dude, and so I hold on. Let's see. So he sent Rob the poem, and I put this over it and I narrated it for him. I'm just gonna give you a little bit.
When the sun spins, nothing as eternal as the melody of the richest ballads that call to me, as soothing as the song that sets you free. The sun rises and spins for him, you, and me. Soothing is the beat that melts the heart of so many lyrical works of art. The sun shines away the shadows as the spin changes perspective of harsh life lessons learned, respected.
Anyway,
Wow.
isn't that something?
Yeah.
So I thought it was really cool. So thank you, Dan.
Put that over stock footage of some sunsets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
99 more. Santiago M's, Chad W, Leanne P, Maya P. Leanne P, Maya P. Yeah, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
Maddie Sipe.
Yeah.
Belinda N. Dave Hall. He's English now. Hey Michael, it's really nice to see. He's got a really nice voice. He's like very English and very quiet, very reserved. Right. I like Dave. He's like, yeah, Michael, I really like the episode where you shut up. No, he didn't say that. Sheila G, Brad D, Rae H, Tabitha T, Tom N, Talia M, Betsy D, Chad Boone, I own Luther Corp. Angel M, Rhiannon C, Corey K, Deb Nixon, Michelle A, Jeremy C, Brandy D, Joey M, Eugene and Leah, Corey, Heather L, Jake B, Angela F, Mel S, Orlando C, Caroline R, Christine S, Eric H, Shane R, Andrew M, Tim L, Amanda R, Jen B, Kevin E, Stephanie K, Jor-El, Jam and J, Leanne J. Hey, Joe. Hey, can you grab my water? I think it's on the table or whatever. Oh, thanks, man. I need a drink of water. I can hear myself going. It's nothing worse than hearing that. I never want to be that guy. I had it on an interview once early on, and the person was like, yeah. I was like, oh, God. I actually told her to get water in a nice way. Luna R, Mike F, Stone H, Brian L, Katie B, Aaron R, Kendall L, Meredith I, Sarah C, Kara C, Kara, Jessica B, Kyle F, Marisol P, Estevan G, Kaylee J, Brian A, Ashley F, Al V, I believe it's Al V, Marion Louise L, Romeo B, Veronica Q, the S, also known as LS in Spanish. Chris D and Jen T. Couldn't do this without you guys. Thank you for supporting the podcast. I'll send you a message when you join, patreon.com/inside of you. This has been a real treat. Thank you, Warren, Uncle Warren, for being on the podcast. Ryan, thanks for being here.
Yeah, of course.
And you liked my uncle, didn't you?
I loved it. It was great.
It was fun, right?
Yeah. I'm going to tell my sister to listen to it because she has a dog who could use some tips.
Really?
Yeah.
She should listen to the pet show.
Yeah.
He knows what he's doing.
Yeah. I love that dog, though. It's my nephew. He's always a little nuts. Reggie.
Like my dog, Charlie. He's nuts. They're nuts. But we love him.
He's a pup.
He's a pup.
Adorable.
All right, from the Hollywood Hills in California, I'm Michael Rosenbaum.
I'm Ryan Tez.
Quiet, reserved. Little wave to the camera. We love you guys. Thank you so much. And always, Ryan.
Be good to yourself.
Be good to yourself. Of course. Do it. Damn it. All right, we'll see you next week.